Hi, everybody. This is Matt Lawton. This is the Astrological Winds channel. I'm going to take a look at the astrological weather report for the week of April 11th through the 17th. And big week of changes. A lot of what is going on this week I talked about at length in the April monthly weather report a couple weeks ago. So I would say, I'm not going to go as much into detail on these two big shifts this week, but I will mention them. And but if you want more detail, please go to the April monthly blog and take a look and take a listen to that, because it's definitely two big things, and that is, Saturn squaring the nodal axis, which is today on Monday, and then tomorrow Jupiter conjuncting Neptune for the first time in 13 years. They're beginning a new synodic cycle. So just a little business first. If you want to get in touch with me for any reason, best way to get me is through my email, mattHue823 at gmail.com. That's mattHue823 at gmail.com. And if you need any kind of professional reading, need to get in touch with me for any other reason, that's the way to do it. I will go through the information at the end again, but I know some people have told me, don't get to the end. How do I get in contact with you? So I just want to give you that really quickly right at the beginning. And remember, this is a free service I offer each week, so please, the best way to pay me back is to pass it on to someone else that you think might be interested in it. And if anybody you know, including yourself, needs a reading, I've been doing readings for 22 years professionally, so that would be helpful too. But real quick, big changes this week. I really think we're going to see some very key events in the world, especially like on the social, political kind of spectrum. The Saturn square the nodes is really showing that a lot of the things that are going on in society, Saturn is a societal planet, and with Jupiter, so it's like collective society. And what it's showing is a lot of the structures that we built into society are falling apart. They're under tension, they're under stress, and they've reached a point where old stuff has to be let go of so that new stuff can come in. But there's like this inhibition that's holding back a lot of that energy, and the world is having a really hard time adapting to it. And we can look, just at what's going on over in Europe between Russia and Ukraine as a perfect example of that. Like, just seeing that, like, things that, the way they are not working, and things are falling apart, and that, like, there's a lot of like, weaknesses being exposed in alliances, things like that, so like, and on a personal level, we can actually, feel this through separations from groups, from family members. It could be even deaths, things like that. But it's definitely a time of like almost what I would call karmic reckoning for the world, like, and the structures we built in it, and the way they're inhibiting us now from being able to move ahead as a society and culture together. And so we're really reaching this critical point where things are really like, the structures are falling apart, and it's very, very hard to adapt to it now, just like the economy is another thing where we're seeing runaway inflation, supplies not available, things like that. So there's a lot of, like I said, it's a societal thing mainly, and it really shows that, there's a lot of issues in society's normal structures and foundations that are cracking right now, and really are in need of like an upgrade in the way things are going to be done. And then the Tuesday, the Jupiter conjunction to Neptune in Pisces, both the sign, they both kind of rule together. And so they're both very strong there. And what they like about Pisces is that it's a very spiritual, compassionate, inspiring sign, which is what both those planets like. So, the last time they conjuncted was back in May of 2009 in Aquarius, and this time they're conjuncting in Pisces. And like I said, I went through a lot more detail with this in the monthly report, but in effect, this is really about a spiritual awakening that's occurring underneath everything, and that a lot of people are really like having a lot of what I would call like upgrades to their spiritual path, mystical experiences, a greater connection to spirit or religion or whatever their higher power is. So there's a lot of inspiration coming out of that, a lot of imagination coming out, and people adjusting their spiritual paths. People like being inspired artistically and creatively because they're wanting to put their values into the real world. So this is really like a lot about upgrading our values and philosophies of life on an individual level, but it's occurring on like a collective level too. Jupiter once again is a planet, a social planet, and Neptune is a planet that is like just a spiritual evolutionary planet that's pulling the whole human race in a certain direction. So like, Pisces is all about unification, but it's also about like, sometimes like being so stuck on what we believe in that it's a us against them attitude. So I could really think there'll be a lot of key events in the world this week where it exposes a lot of that stuff, the inability to adapt to things and the where like different ideas are clashing with one another that people have, and a us versus them attitude. But yet at the same time, on individual levels, I think a lot of people are like really wanting to move beyond a lot of these old paradigms, and like, and so it's really going to be in our face in world events. But please go back to the monthly if you'd like to get a lot more detail on both of those aspects. I go over them a lot more in the monthly, and I have other things I really want to talk about. The main things I want to talk about this week is we've got a full moon at 27 degrees Libra, which is locked into a really tough T-square with Pluto and Eris. And then we also have Mars changing signs this week into Pisces. So those are the two main things I'd really like to talk about. And like I said, if you want more detail on the other two, go back to the monthly. So another thing that's also happening on Tuesday, quick first, is the sun is sextiling Saturn. So this is really solid energy. This is really a good day to like build some structure and foundation into your life, to find like different opportunities that allow you to do that, to get something like foundational into into the real world, that and to put energy and focus and concentration on that. And it's a good day just to get work done, to really focus. It's interesting too. It is on Tuesday, which is Mars day of the week, which once again is a good day to be really active and working on the things that your projects or your work, your job, whatever it may be. Great focus, great ability on organizing levels, planning levels, administrative levels. Just the ability to move a lot of physical energy that day if you want to. So that's really interesting. A good day for just building and moving stuff on Tuesday. Then Thursday is the day that Mars goes into Pisces, which is kind of interesting. On a bigger level, I think sometimes Mars in Pisces can be dangerous because that's when people can get really stuck on their belief systems as groups and stuff, and kind of really adopt this "you're with us or against us" attitude, So it can almost be the energy of say a religious war. Think about something like the Crusades or the battling between, Jewish people and Palestinians. It's kind of like people stuck on what their values, their ideas, their religion, their philosophy is. And, if they can't like preach it out and get other people to come along with them, then a lot of times they will try to force people to believe what they believe. So it can be dangerous on the level of society by fueling or feeding or fanning differences that people end up going to battle over, or countries end up going to war over, that kind of thing. So I don't think it's a good sign really for what's going on over in Russia and Ukraine and anywhere else where there's warfare. It really may ratchet this up, where people get really entrenched in the I'm right, you're wrong, or we're right, they're wrong kind of position, and turn it into this like very zealot influencer driven kind of energy of like who's on higher moral ground or something, kind of energy. But on a personal level, because Mars is a personal planet and it has to do with our actions, when it goes into Pisces, we can actually experience like a lot of loss of physical energy that we normally can access, and it can really feel like it's dissipating a lot of our ability to do what we want to do. So it can actually lessen our self-confidence. It can like lessen our passion for things, and it can also make us really sensitive to other people, especially people who are kind of intense, or environments that are noisy, intense environments. They may, we may get really, really sensitive in places like that and really need to separate ourselves from those people or those environments to find some kind of peacefulness and stuff. But I mean, it also, on a positive side, really inspires people to do like charitable type acts, like serving others, really can be less egotistical when it's positive and wants to really help others out, and can be tolerant of others' viewpoints and where they're coming from and even what they do, and be understanding and be able to work with that and want to work with that. So really interesting shift. It's a little bit concerning for sure on a societal level, because it can, like I said, feed the flames of the us versus them, get people warlike and defensive, but on the individual level may not have the energy we normally have, but we have a lot of like compassion and tolerance and want to be of service in some way to others or the greater good. Okay, and then the other really big event this week, and really is the biggest event of the week, is next Saturday. The full moon is in Libra, 27 degrees, and the sun will be conjunct Eris, the goddess of change and chaos and all that, at the same time. So the moon will be opposite not only the sun, but Eris, and then Pluto locks into a T-square at the apex of this. So that really makes it a very difficult assignment, this one. It's like, we can really be exposed to a lot of deep, intense energy and see, not only in ourselves, but in others, a lot of the shadow, negative stuff. And it can really bring a lot of chaos into our lives. And people can have a tendency, especially with Pluto involved, to get really into these like defensive, almost malevolent kind of positions. Once again, in places where there's violence going on, it's going to feed that violence. It's going to feed destruction. And this is like, on an individual level, we can really self-destruct with this kind of energy. It's just, it's not an easy assignment. I mean, when you think about Moon in Libra wants harmony. It wants balance. It wants to connect with other people. It's all about the other, and does not feel comfortable if, the other is not comfortable emotionally too, and wants to literally talk things out to, try to get to a place of harmony again. And yet it's opposite the sun in Aries, which is, the tension is between the two of them, because the sun is all about me and not worrying about what the other thinks. So there's this, the sun energy in us, our wills, our egos, want to push ahead with what we want to do. And the moon in Libra is like, well, wait a minute, I'm not comfortable if that is out of harmony with others, that I want to, feel like I'm creating some kind of harmony with others with my actions and not being so out of step. But when the sun is conjunct Eris, it shows that the individual is really going through a lot of changes right now. And, the energy coming off that can be very chaotic and upsetting to others who are used to you being a different way, upsetting to your own emotions even, that are used to being another way. And then you throw in the Pluto part, and it's pretty much like, okay, shadow stuff is coming up. Shadow stuff, in the moon's in Libra, and it has a lot to do with relationships and just heavy, deep emotions that are being exposed within ourselves and probably through our relationships. So it's really easy to see a lot of the imbalances. What's interesting too is the Sun and Eris are also conjunct the asteroid Pallas Athene, which once again, just like that Pisces energy, is showing that there's a difference in what people value that may be driving a lot of like the tension and the need of like individuals to like want to like break free of relationships or things like that they feel like is holding them back. So we may really see where like differences of opinions, difference of what we value is really like, creating a lot of the tension and difficult energy beneath us. And people want to fight for those values. And Pluto and Pallas, those are warrior type energies. They want to fight for what they believe in. And the problem is when you fight Pluto with the sun and moon Pluto, you end up possibly creating your own self-destruction, that, you end up getting into power struggles with other people, attracting authorities that, may feel threatened by you, getting into situational and mechanical breakdowns where things just seem to be falling apart and need to be like either reformed completely or tossed out and purged so that, something new can come in from the outside and replace it. So there's a lot of like this really intense energy, and it's going to be really, really hard to balance it. Despite Libra's desire to do that, she's got a lot of things working against her right now, and the moon Pluto can really, we can really take that deep inside and really chew ourselves and others up internally, with a lot of self-talk inside of like intense energy, just really can get obsessive, overly obsessive about things and blow things out of proportion, can get kind of into a brooding zone too, where we're really chewing inside up, ourselves and others around us. So very, very bad. Now, we do have a couple things that could help us out in resolving some of this stuff. One of them is the moon is also going to be trining Saturn at the same time. And although that's not, going to bring in joy or anything, what it may do is like show us the steps we need to take, excuse me, that we need to take in like an organized manner to start to deal with like the entanglements that we're in. And, it's definitely a serious kind of attitude about it, but it's like, okay, it can see like, oh, there's certain things I can do about this. There's certain things I have the ability to do. And if I can, be serious about it, change some of these things and, purge some of these things out. The other thing is that Venus is the ruler of this full moon. And that's a good thing. If you remember, Venus went into Pisces recently. So it's in a sign that it's exalted in. And it's very happy there. So, and not only that, but it's also sextiling a Mercury Uranus conjunction this weekend. So what I see that is that other people actually can bring you in some really interesting information that you may need to help resolve some of the riddles and puzzles and confusion that's in your life right now. So like, different people, usually like family, friends, people like that, can really bring in something that is very useful to you in order to untangle some of this stuff. It's interesting too, because the Venus going to the Mercury Uranus is showing that, there's opportunities to like share that info and to really be able to express what we're feeling and get it out there, and then take in some of these new ideas for ourselves and like use them to inspire us and to make changes. So, and can maybe even make them relatively quickly with Uranus involved. But like, it's really like some great ideas that come in through other people. And then and those aspects actually are exact on Sunday. So what I think it's interesting about that is that on, Saturday, we may go through this heavy full moon, contemplation and, a lot of the issues that, like I said, we're having in relationships versus what you need as an individual versus what a relationship may need. And this like transformation and change going on. It may feel really heavy on Saturday, we may get into some battles even with people and stuff. By Sunday, I think like, with the Venus, the ruler of the full moon, sextiling that Mercury Uranus conjunction in Taurus, I think like, what we'll do is we'll go through this period on Saturday of like really like looking at that stuff deeply. And then on Sunday, we'll want to open up the lines of communication and connect with other people about the things that we see and, the things that have sparked us and, and get that new info. So, remember with the full moon in your chart, you want to see where 27 degrees Libra is. And that's the house that the full moon is falling in your chart. And that will be the area of life that will be most exposed. And then you look across the chart at where 27 Eris is, where the sun is, and that's the other house that will be affected. So they're forming an axis. So one of the axes, 6 axes with the houses will be triggered in all of our charts. And that'll really show us where this full moon is exposing this energy, where, things really are at a crux of needing to change and honoring your individual path and somehow trying to keep balance with others too. So very interesting, challenging week on that level. Like I said, a couple those long-term things perfecting this week. And then we have Mars going into Pisces and this full moon all challenging us this week. And I think a lot of it, once again, has to do with like each individual finding, what's that right spot for them. That's that, Sun and Eris and even Chiron and Aries, knowing, we have to take care of ourselves first before we're effective in taking care of anybody else or anything in the world. So really a, real good weekend to like really look at that stuff deeply and then start to like communicate it out and bring in the changes you want to bring in, especially ones that are being brought to you by others, through relationships, and, make those adjustments to your path then afterwards. All right, this is Matt Lawton. This is the Astrological Winds channel. It's on YouTube every week. And if you have a YouTube account, you can become a follower and then turn on your notifications and you'll know when it's up every week. It's also available on all kinds of podcasts. There's really no reason to watch the video. It's usually just me or a chart. So what you really want to do is focus on, the words, and especially the words in between the astrology lingo. Get the energy of the week, because that's what you can work with. It really doesn't matter whether you know what the aspects or whatever that's causing that energy, but if you know in general, That's what you want to focus on. So the podcast, just look up Astrological Winds channel. It's on about 20 different podcasts. If you don't see it on one, try another. Review, Apple iPodcast, Spotify, etc. It's on that. Also, if you have an Instagram account, look up Astrological Winds channel and become a follower. I post the link on there, and I also, usually most weeks, I post a few other things too. There might be a special day or two. I want to talk about the moon aspects or whatever. So, you can get a little more detail. And it's usually just a quick blurb. It's not a video. It's just something you can read. Or I also post the link on my Facebook account. And that is a private account, so you have to become a friend. Matthew Lawton, Lauten, and you can friend me, and that's what I use my Facebook for. So get me any of those ways. Been doing readings professionally for over 20 years. So you get your birth chart done, get your own predictive work done. The predictive work is your weather report for the next year, just like I do for the week on this. I do relationship charts, children's charts, fixed star readings for deeper soul purpose, astrocartography or relocation, all types of different services. So just drop me an email, mattHue823@gmail.com. That's mattHue823@gmail.com. And you can always get me through the comments section on YouTube or any of the places that this is out, the blog is out on. And also, if you're interested in classes, I do have 5 beginning classes started. They're available on Dropbox, $25 a class, $20 if you're a student with a student ID. Anyone who wants to do them and they're ready for more, we can keep doing more of them. Also can do group events, lectures, classes, things like that. So if you're looking for something like that, once again, mattHue823@gmail.com. If anyone wants to give a donation to the blog, you're welcome to do that. Just look up Matthew Lawton, Lauten, on either Zelle or on Venmo or PayPal. And no donation is too small. So, don't feel if that's ever the case. And thank you for all your support, everybody. Lots of followers being gained every week. Some nice comments here and there. I really appreciate it. All right. Well, it's going to definitely be an interesting week, folks. I think, underlying, like I said, there's a greater spiritual awareness coming on, but the society's structures are definitely way under stress. And, this full moon is really going to show us a lot of intense stuff that needs to change within us and within our relationships to keep moving forward. All right, until next week, this is Matt Lawton signing off on the Astrological Winds channel.